How's it going, everyone? Andy here from 4K Downtime, back at you with another 4K review. Today we want to talk about Pocket Rumble, which is a title that I've been looking forward to for a very long time. Unfortunately, it got delayed time and time again. Now, in case you didn't know, this game was supposed to come out last year, shortly after the Switch's launch, but unfortunately, due to some issue, maybe it's like trouble with development or something like that, it got pushed back and back, and it just recently got released, like literally just last week. And the only reason why I'm really excited about this title was just purely because it was an SNK-like fighter. Now, if you remember back in the 2000s, SNK released a Neo Geo Pocket, which is basically supposed to compete with the Game Boy Color and everything. And while it didn't exactly set the world on fire or anything like that, it didn't really even give the Game Boy a run for its money, but it was a cute little system that I had it, and for a very short time I was strictly on that rather than the Game Boy Color, because the graphics was like true 8-bit and everything. So I really liked that console, and part of the reason why I liked it so much was due to all the SNK fighters, like King of Fighters, Samurai Showdown. There was the Capcom SNK fighting game as well. I forgot what was it called. I think it was called Match of the Millennia or something like that. But I really like those games, yeah, and ever since then, because the Neo Geo Pocket didn't sell very well, it was discontinued shortly thereafter, and nothing actually came out of it ever since. And it was clear that when I saw Pocket Rumble, I knew for a fact that Cardboard Robot G, the developers behind Pocket Rumble, were clearly a big fan of these kind of games, and they wanted to do a game that actually, like, you know, feels very reminiscent, and like, if anything, it does, this game, the sprites and everything, they bear an uncanny resemblance to some of SNK's fighters as well. Like, for example, if you take a look at Subject 11, for example, it literally looks exactly like the Orochi version of Irori in the, I think it was in Match of Millennia, when you actually see him in that way. And then you have a character called June in this game, yeah? And she is a very weird character, by the way. I'll go in a bit more detail later on in the video about these characters, but June is kind of like their version of Athena from, like, you know, King of Fighters as well. And then you've got Naomi, which basically just looks like a female version of Terry Bogard, and just by looking at her sprite and everything, you can really tell. But anyways, so this game, when it was first announced, I was really excited for it, but like I said, due to the delays, yeah, I was just kind of like, okay, so it went MIA, where the hell, like, you know, did it go to? And finally it got released last week. I bought it, it was $6.99 over here in the UK, so for you guys over in the States, I believe it's $10. And I've spent a couple of hours to it, and I have to say, at first, yeah, to my surprise, I didn't like it very much. And this is partly due to, when you play solo, you simply just fight a string of characters, in the same order, by the way, it's always in the same order. And I constantly got my ass kicked again and again by Tenchi, who is the very first opponent that you face. And then I got quite frustrated. I'm thinking to myself, okay, this game is way too hard, and you can't even adjust the difficulty settings at all. It's like there's only one difficulty setting, so if you happen to suck at a game, you're not beating it. You probably wouldn't even be able to beat the first guy, and then that's it. So for the first like half an hour to an hour, I literally said to myself, like, did I just wasted my money of it? But here's the thing, as, like, you know, I played onto it and went to the training mode, did a bit of training and everything like that. Then I started to understand, like, you know, the timings and everything like that, and then I'm starting to enjoy it. Because at first, yeah, I thought this was going to be a very, like, because the combos are so simple to perform, I thought it was going to be very mainstream, like very easy to get into. So to my surprise, just to see how much I got my ass kicked, like, you know, again and again by simply just the first opponent, I was thinking, okay, this doesn't seem very, like, you know, big and friendly at all. If anything, this seems to be more for like people who are extreme at fighting games. But then I, like, you know, learned some combos, and it's starting to click with me and everything like that. I use Naomi as my main because her combos was actually the easiest for me to pull off and everything. So I really liked her, and then I ultimately, once I got comfortable with her, I started experimenting with different characters. And then eventually you kind of like start to learn each fighter's different abilities, like, you know, the timings and everything like that, like their attack range and everything. Then I got good at it, and then I was like, you know what, I'm starting to enjoy it more and more. But onto the characters, like, so Tenchi is basically their version of Ryu, like the kind of this, similar here. He actually has this attack where he grows kind of like ram horns, well, like spiritual versions of ram horns, and then he has a Hadouken attack, that kind of stuff. Naomi, like I already said, is kind of like it's basically just a female version of Terry Bogard, so have like similar attacks as well. And what I like about each one of these individual characters, they all have their own ability. Hector, for example, is a swordsman, and he has the ability to heal. And then you got Quinn, who attacks with like claws and everything, and he could actually turn into some kind of like a werewolf kind of thing. That's a very long range attack. June, like I said, is kind of like a Finna, but she's very different. Like her attacks are weird, and they're very well animated, but she's a really weird character. She could make her head and then turns into kind of like a big crocodile mouth. Like, you know, she could send like, you know, weird projectiles flying towards your way. She is very like, you know, disturbing looking as well. Parker could do things such as he attacks with kind of like lightning hands, and he can actually summon these like little lightning bolts that actually can be chained together. Like you could set one off halfway through the screen, and then like, let's say if you're on the other end, yeah, you can actually link the lightnings together, which is pretty cool. And his ability kind of like has something that is akin to, I believe, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike's parry system, where he could actually parry your attack. And Subject 11, it's again similar to June. Like, you know, the attacks are really like awkward. He could like summon these like green hands and everything like that, and then punches you away. And then the last character being Keiko, and she is also a pretty funny character. She has a cat that fights alongside her, yeah, and throughout the whole fight, yeah, she can actually use moves to make the cat do all of this kind of crazy stuff that you'll see her just the cat itself will suddenly turn into this kind of weird blob thing. Like, it's very weird and creative, and like some of them, like I said, can be quite disturbing in the case of June's attack as well. But other than all of that, the fighting mechanics is very solid. It's definitely an old school fighters. The fact that the game only uses 2 buttons for every combo just really goes to show that it's if you put some time into it, you'll ultimately get yourself into it. So don't be put off, like, you know, by the difficulty, because like I said, the first hour I find myself not enjoying it, but then after some practice, after like, you know, just learning every character's ins and out, you're starting to appreciate it a lot more. The only strike that this game really has against it, it's just that it has a weak roster. Like, you know, it only has 8 characters, which is basically like how Street Fighter 2 was back then. Only 8 characters and nothing more. And also, it has no real story as well. Even the basic arcade mode, you just fight everyone, reach to the end, that's it. You don't get any sort of like, you know, little minor cutscene to talk about the characters or whatsoever. It's literally just, you hit the end, bam, that's it, right back to the front. There was no intro whatsoever, like, you know, no outro either. So yeah, little things like that they didn't have. But then again, the game only cost me $6.99, so I wasn't really expecting that it was going to be like chock full of content or anything like that. I just expected that it's going to be a solid fighting game, and that's exactly what I got in the end. And also, one thing I want to mention is that the music is exactly what you expect as well. It's very, like, again, inspired by some of the kind of tunes that you probably hear from Neo Geo Pocket. Like, you know, it has that, like, you know, 8-bit, like, you know, jam to it. And my favorite is probably, again, Naomi's tunes. The others, I couldn't really remember it that much, but maybe it's just because I have like Naomi's one just kind of stuck with me from the very beginning. But other than that, guys, yeah, if you're into fighting games, yeah, especially kind of like retro fighting games, I definitely highly recommend it. Ultimately, I would say that I liked it a lot. It was very good, and I would have preferred if it would have actually came out last year, like it was intended to be, because now, yeah, because there's so many fighters on the Switch at the moment, I have a feeling this game might end up getting ignored. But back then, if it was actually came out like shortly after Switch's launch, which is, as far as I know, that was originally what it was supposed to be planned as, but because they couldn't meet it, and now it came out much later, and because now we literally have got so many fighting games on the console itself, yeah, I just felt like this might be overlooked. But hey, if you got $6.99 to spare, definitely give it a go. And if you, like I said, if you like retro style fighting games, or if you were just kind of like me, who was a fan of, like, you know, the Neo Geo Pocket Color back then, and you like a lot of the SNK fighters, hey, then you will love this game, because it literally controls like it, it plays like it. Even the sound effects all seems like it was taken out of that era. But anyway, guys, enough from me. I'd like to hear what you think. Did you bought Pocket Rumbles? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Comment below and let us know. And as always, guys, if you like this video, consider subscribing. If not, you can hit dislike and tell us what we can actually improve upon. This is Andy from 4K Downtime signing off. Have a good one, guys. Take it easy.